Hey there, this is Dr. Geneva again, and I am bringing you another installment in our fabulous Vibrant Women series. As you know, May is Older Americans Month, where we connect, recognize, celebrate people 50 plus. But I've got a special spot in my heart for 50 plus women who are just living vibrantly. And so the guest that I have with me, wait until you meet her here. She is doing it. Leslie, how are you? Leslie Graham Andrews. Welcome. How you doing?
I am doing well. I am so blessed.
Yes, you are. Well, as I told Leslie, as I've asked women to come have conversations with me about vibrancy and how do you live a vibrant life and kind of enhance the vibrant life blueprint that I've developed, certain things trigger why I select or invite certain people. Now, I've known Leslie for many years and have been an admirer of hers, and you're going to hear why in a moment. But particularly on her birthday, and I think it was this year,
yes,
she posted this bad picture. So you can see it if you go on Facebook. But what she said was what got me. She said about herself and this birthday celebration milestone, she is secure on her journey with all its twists and turns, surprises and disappointments, obstacles and opportunities. Grace and mercy follow her all the days of her life. Wisdom and courage guide her. She has been battle-tested and passed. She is known by the quality of those who love her and call her friend. She fears no one and wants for nothing. And this is her 52nd years young happy birthday wish to herself and what she says to herself. When I read that, I said, oh goodness. So here we're going to break all that down. So first of all, you talk about securing your journey with twists, turns, surprises, and disappointments. How do you get to be secure with all those ups and downs you've had?
Honestly, because I trust my journey now in a way that I was unable to trust it when I was young. Because what qualifies as important on my journey has matured and evolved with me. It used to be important what I wore and what I drove and where I lived. Mm-hmm. Now it's more important how I live, if I can walk. And if I have something in my closet at all. I've literally distilled life down not to the valuable things, and I continue to do that distillation of what truly is important, and I've put more things down than I've picked up. Mm-hmm. And that's what you hear sort of baked into that birthday declaration. Mm-hmm. Of somebody who got back up. Mm-hmm. I'm amazed at the people. Matter of fact, I am very cautious of people who present themselves as stainless and haven't been through anything. Right. I don't hang around people who haven't been through anything. Mm-hmm. And where I'm going, they can't contribute anything to where I'm headed. Mm-hmm. I want to talk to the people who've been through something and gotten through to the other side.
Yes, and can show the way.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. You can't do it any other way. Mm-hmm. And it's really, at some point, it'll dawn on you. See, the things that I used to see in my grandmother's face that I thought were my untrained eye, thought they were just, grown folks being grown folks. Mm-hmm. I now understand it is just true, mature, and pure discernment. Mm-hmm. My grandmother moved when movement was necessary. Mm-hmm. She did things intentionally. That's all this is. Mm-hmm. She didn't respond. She wasn't moved by every single course or every single thing that was going on around her. She moved when she was ready to move. I'm just glad that I got to witness it and I learned it probably through osmosis, but I learned it genetically, inherently. I now know when to move.
I love it. I love it. And so, so then another piece you talk about is she is known by the quality of those who love her and call her friend. She fears no one and wants for nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. This is twofold, because it's being intentional about how I design and manage and monitor my environment, because those are my influences. And it's what I am courageous enough to do in those pivotal moments that define who I am to me. The way that I say that very clearly is I know when my friendships and relationships have run their course, and I'm courageous enough to say thanks, but no thanks. I know for a fact that I no longer am willing to be someone else's responsibility, so I don't subscribe to job security. And I have been on the downside of someone else deciding my future because they determined that I no longer fit their plan. Well within their rights, because they were my employer. But the lesson that I got was different than the lesson someone else would have got. The lesson that I got was, shame on me for putting my future in someone else's hands and expecting them to handle it and treat it the way that I would. I have to take back responsibility for the direction in which I'm going, and only align with people who value me as much as I value me. That takes a lot of courage and dedication, but more importantly, it takes the balls to say no, even in the face of something that you otherwise would say yes.
Yes.
I walked away from a nice six-figure career. I walked away from a lot of things only because my true authentic voice was not being valued, wasn't being heard. So instead of you moving me around in the company, I decided that I needed to retire from your madness. And by putting that down, I was able to pick up more of what makes me me. And I'm willing to pay the price. I tell everybody, what are you willing to pay the price for? I'm unwilling to die and leave unfinished. And it's not a job. No children, no legacy I leave. I can't leave anybody a job. But yes. I can leave them the example of the courage that I had to display in those times where it was neither comfortable nor convenient. And it's still not.
Yes. And so, well, that, now see, my next question, you may have already answered it, because I was going to say that, you know, it's a very courageous place that you're at now. And you had to come to that and get to that through trials and tribulations. But you also said, and it really isn't over yet. It's not done yet. You're still moving, grooving, learning, struggling, all of that.
I fear no man and I fear no situation, because that it literally would be equated with the strength of my faith. And if my faith is strong, then my fear has no place to live. If I don't have the money for something that I want to do, I'll either find the money, or I'll really decide that it's not the time for that. I pay attention to the universe, and I don't keep struggling with it. So when I say I fear no man, I really don't believe that God gave anybody some unique set of stuff that he didn't also give me a unique set of stuff.
Okay.
So comparable with everything else in the universe. So what is there to fear? So what we fear is what we make up in our heads. Like, rejection was tough. When my employer said, we no longer think that your services fit our needs, your ego will take you for a ride. When the ride is over, the only person that you find yourself sharing space with is yourself.
Right.
So I separated, and I'm fortunately I'm gifted enough to know how to separate what I call the wheat from the chaff, which is, I know I'm not less valuable. I no longer fit their scheme. So let me take what I know is valuable and put it somewhere where it is valued. And to do that, I can't fear anybody. I can't let anybody, somehow get me unconvinced of who I am. Just because it doesn't work for what they're doing. And that's every aspect of life. Fear and faith, they just don't coexist in the same mind, not in mine.
Fear and faith don't coexist in the same mind.
And when I'm afraid, I go ahead and feel it. I feel it, and whatever it is, and then I challenge it.
Okay. So that's what I was gonna. That's what I wanted to get into. Okay, so for those who may be listening, who clearly, like me, admire, respect you and your courage and the place that you're at now. And of course, wonder, hear how you get there through struggle and tribulation and fear and faith not existing and coming to that mindset. If you were to give one or two strategies and tips that you've learned, or perhaps lessons learned through your journey, what would that be?
Stop telling or actually pay attention to the stories that you tell yourself.
Okay.
I had to literally spend a lot of time unlearning certain things that I had accepted and believed that didn't serve me anymore.
For example?
Can
you give us an example?
For example, I would say if I had it to do over again, that's how that's my benchmark. So if I had it to do over again, would I go to college? Absolutely. But if I had it to do over again, I'd also get a skill trade and be the first African-American female master masonry person. I accept it because I was told by my family that you must go to college in order to be successful. What I know now is the pathway to success is self-defined, and it can go in millions of directions. It's as personal and unique as your fingerprint, and you can do whatever you want to do. I had to stop telling myself certain stories. I had to stop telling myself the corporate story that if I show up and I work 3 times as hard and I'm 4 times as smart and everyone likes me and I go early and I stay late, that I will ascend to some magical golden place at the top of the food chain, and there will be utopic experiences, and I'd have tons of money, and I wouldn't have any other problems, and I'd be able to pay for the problems that I do encounter. Okay, fairy tales, stop it. The only magical, mystical place that resembles that is at the head of my own corporation. That means it's going to be a long, bumpy, scary, ugly road to get there. So stop telling ourselves these stories that when they don't happen, we experience this self-inflicted disappointment. And then we get down on ourselves and we begin to question ourselves and doubt ourselves. And then we waste that very valuable time that could be invested staying curious and courageous. I am eternally curious. My attention span is purposely short because I'm trying to get it in.
Yeah, right.
Get it in is because I've always arrived at every stage of my life early. I graduated from every point in school early. I became a widow at 42 early, out of sync, always getting to these spaces early. And what I recognize is I got there exactly when God intended for me to get there, because he wanted me to both be changed by that environment he dropped me in and to change that environment that he dropped.
Yes. I love it. It's interesting that as we come into this milestone era, which I call it, which I think that's what plus 50 is. It's the half a century that you've been through, and it gives you so much learning and riches. Can
I say this really right quick?
Of course, Liz.
Here's the thing. I believe my first half happened to me.
Okay.
The second half will happen through me.
Okay. All right.
And that means that I will determine what passes through me to the best of my ability. I don't control everything. But what I control is how I respond to the things that I encounter and what I allow to be incorporated into where I'm going.
Yes.
I've already decided that my destination is wherever I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But what I also decided is everybody can't go. There's the cost to go on the ride, and that means faith and fun and positivity and no nonsense and no BS. And I already know what the cost of admission is. And anybody who violates those spaces, pray for them, and I keep moving. But these next 50 will happen through me.
Yes.
They just be all about what happened to me.
Right. And it's what you create.
Absolutely.
And what I think is so incredibly awesome about this phase, because folk too often approach, I think, the second half with despair or worry or fear instead of hope and optimism. What I think is one of the things so wonderful about this is that self-discovery, that kind of relooking and recalibrating. And as you say, finding out what stories work or not now. Now, at a certain point, I do believe some of them stories were okay because your parents and your family telling you need to get an education and, and what it matters got you in those doors, through those doors, the enormously incredible, awesome career that you've had as a fundraiser, as a corporate exec, as making a difference at the United Negro College Fund, and all your long record of achievements. That story that was told to you when you filed, that's okay. But I think what I hear you saying is how it works now for you, that there are other things, in fact, that can determine your success, or if you had a chance to do it over again. Is that
it's two things. Yes, it got me. It gave me the blueprint on how to get there. It didn't necessarily tell me what to do and give me responsibility while I was there. And it certainly did not instruct me how long I had to stay and when to leave.
Yes. So there were other chapters in the story, in the book, that weren't there. And maybe that's the secret. Maybe that's the secret, that those other chapters were purposefully missing because we had to write them ourselves.
Absolutely.
So maybe that's okay, because I know as I came to my spaces, I always came the same. I came first. So like I was the first in this. I was the first to head the United Way. I was the first to get this award. I was the first to start this. I was always the first. But I had to learn how to not be the only.
Yeah.
And my story, those chapters showed me all the blueprint about how to be the first. How I had to be excellent in this, how I had to study, the homework, all those things that got me to first. But then the part about then what do you do with that? How do you turn around and make sure, what's required for that, and then where that success takes you. So Leslie, what's in store for you now as this vibrant woman that you are?
Well,
tell me what's next on the horizon. I know you're working it out. But can you give us some sneak peeks?
Absolutely. So the foundation and the theme of everything that I'm doing going forward is the joy of being over 50.
Okay.
It's joy, and because I want to demystify that and make some other folks hopeful. Okay. Because I know I was based on the behavior of the people in my environment, so I don't want to be one of those people.
Okay.
So what's next for me is more of the same. I love to speak. I love to speak about overcoming obstacles. I got a current series now. You won't know your wings work unless you jump. Ways to just go ahead and do whatever it is in your heart to do. I'm doing a lot of rebranding in that area. I want to do an advance, not in a retreat, but an advance for women over 50. Since there's this obsession about what happens over 50, how about we design it? How about we do something that has never been seen before in the lives of each and every woman of a certain age who otherwise believed that she couldn't. So literally a breakthrough type advance for women. I'm also very curious about what's out in the world that I haven't seen yet.
Yes.
So more travel, but a lot more documentation travel. And just whatever is on the horizon. Right now, I consult nonprofits. I feel that's my way of actually continuing to give back to my industry. Because more than ever, there are always going to be a group of individuals in our world that need an advocate, that need a champion, that hold the higher powers accountable. Nonprofits do that, as you know, from your illustrious career. So I consult them as they make their way, meander their way along, and some of them help them rebrand and get back on track. That's great. Business side of it. But the side of it is just like the photos that I took for my birthday. I want to demonstrate that these years are as important or the best as any other years that I know of. And I encounter each one in a different state of mind. I'm just looking it out on stage to inspire somebody else. And I'll say this, I'm living in my gifts. That's really what this is about. And my gift is to inspire people based on the things that I do, the words that I say, what I share, and how courageous I choose to live, and how honest I am about how difficult being courageous can be, but how honest I am about how much it's worth it. A lot of my life will be immeasurable in terms of dollars and cents and those kinds of things, but that's why I said I want for nothing. I'm not trying to do something to pay something off. I can do it authentically, and authentically I can bring my best self to it and have fun at it. I'm not doing it because I have to pay off a bill, or I'm not doing it for any other reason other but for the joy of doing it.
You know, one of the things, and when you said have fun, one of the things I think that's important in a vibrant life, in life after 50, though I think it's all through your life, but particularly 50 plus, is self-care. And that's one of the aspects of the Vibrant Life Blueprint that I've developed in terms of helping women, you know, find their steps through a process and a blueprint. That self-care, that it's not selfish, that it's something that you should have, is so key and critical. How do you think self-care fits into your life now and should fit into the lives of women plus 50?
Oh, it's paramount. It is essential. It is number one responsibility is for me to make sure that this vehicle that God has blessed me with can make it through the entire journey. And it's no longer, you know, accidental. It is all intentional. You know, it's not a second thought. It's my primary thought. And I do it in so many different ways. I've eliminated so many things from my diet. No other reason than I no longer, I'm deprogrammed. I don't live to eat. I just eat to live. I'm good. So what is best for me, it also happens to taste good. And I give myself a little treat every once in a while, but I've been on a diet in years. And I'm not going to, because I don't need the stress of trying to manage cravings and things that are rooted probably in something else. I run 5Ks all the time. I have an annual goal. This year's goal is 52 road race miles for my 52nd year around the sun. I got 47 miles left to get done by December 31st. I'm going to run some races in other cities for the first time instead of always running here locally. I guard my mind and my heart and my mouth. That is self-care. When thoughts come into my head that could derail me, I arrest them and get them out. I try to stay away from as much negative conversation as possible because I don't want to, because that literally to me is me integrating stress into my spirit. And stress is the number one killer. Then I guard my heart. I expose my heart a lot through interactions with other people, but I strengthen it through heartbreak, heartache, longing and whatever else, but I also celebrate the strength once I've gotten through something. So I guard and protect and strengthen my heart. All of that to me is self-care.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Those are the equipment, the tools that I need in order to get through this life at the level in which I want to get through it. Mm-hmm. So if you are not in good health and in good spirits and in good mind I go to a therapist to work through grief counseling that I left unresolved after my husband passed because I wasn't ready then. I thought I was smarter than I really was, and now I understand that I cannot both be it, solve it, and live it. Mm-hmm. So I've outsourced the other two, and all I have to do is be it, and I have someone else to help me solve it, and I have someone else to direct me and show me how to live it.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting too, as you talk about, and I think you mentioned it in your birthday declaration, friends, friendship, connections. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things that I found, and I think the research shows, that particularly as we get older, mm-hmm. that quality of life oftentimes depends on the connections you have.
Yep.
So that you don't isolate yourself, but that you're there connecting, you have relationships. Do you find that makes a difference, particularly as we age?
It does. And I also have found that it's really about the dynamics of the relationships that you find yourself in. Okay. Finally are courageous enough to decide what types of people and what type of environment you really must have. Because I don't think anything's accidental. You design every single aspect of your life by your choices or your failure to make a choice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm an extrovert with introvert coping tendencies, okay. Which means I'm on. When I walk in the door, I can be on. I can capture and hold the room. I can speak extemporaneously with no problem. The English language and words are my best friends. Mm-hmm. But when I need to decompress and decontaminate myself from whatever environments that I may have found myself in, mm-hmm. I can go and be by myself and be just fine. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My own company. Mm-hmm. I'm now beginning to place the proper value on how amazing that is.
That is, yes. Yes, I know what you're saying. I grew up in my own company most of the time, and I tell people that I used to think because my parents were so strict, they never let me go nowhere, Leslie. I mean, I couldn't go nowhere. I couldn't do the things everybody else, all the other girls were doing. We were small town and all that. And, later on, I found out it had to do more about the civil rights work that my dad and mom were in. And there was a lot of, they were concerned for my safety. But anyway, I found myself often by myself enjoying. And now as I look back, I enjoyed my company. I was reading, I was thinking, lot of thinking, and then the other half of my time, it seemed I was always with adults.
Both. We share that in common.
Yeah, it seemed like, because I was young, I was by myself, I was the only child till my sister got born, which was 10 years, we're 10 years apart.
Yeah.
And so, my mother being a school teacher, I was always around adults. And mm-hmm. a small town, my aunt's beauty shop and all that kind of stuff. So with the two of them, I had a chance to reflect, being by myself, a lot and watch adults. Yeah. And learn some of that wisdom. And it reminded me when you were talking about your grandmother.
That's why we're kindred spirits, because I'm an only child. And I was the only child, my mom being a nurse, and I had a huge village, and I extended families over the time frame, and from babysitters to just different pockets of our family. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is I was the kid that you could put me in a room somewhere with a television and I'd be fine, and so no one minded watching me at all. Mm-hmm. So I found myself often in the car going somewhere with adults or riding with adults, and I spent a majority of my time I was definitely my own first best friend. But my next best friends were both of my grandmothers. I spent time with my father's grandmother every weekend, from ages 4 to probably 12. And then I spent as much time with my mother's mother, who lived next door to my elementary school. So I spent all of those formative years with both of my grandmothers.
Yes.
And I learned wise things long before I probably should, before I could apply them. I got them now.
Right.
I've been wise a long time.
That's right.
Because I ain't never had to tap into it until I arrived at that stage. But you know what's amazing is every stage I arrived at, I was already duly prepared.
Yes.
I just didn't realize that the preparation was there until I needed it.
Yes.
That's the difference.
That's a gift, but it's a gift that you got.
Yes.
You got from your grandmothers and all those adults you were connected with. It's truly a gift and a blessing. I remember now things that, I find myself, they always tell you about how, you start acting like your mom or acting like. And I remember as I was coming up, when I was younger, I would be, oh no, I'd see myself as cutting my own path, etc. Now I know it's all part of that mosaic. But those things are the things that I really remember and cherish, and find out that when I was doing that mother wit, it was her. It was her and my grandmothers and all those wonderful women of influence. And so
design is that you take these things in,
yes,
and they're there, and they just lie dormant until they're absolutely needed. So when I say, oftentimes they're like, well, how did you know how to do that? And I say, I promise you, I really don't know. But then I can connect it back to something. My holding company is called Daisy Ventures Holding Company. Daisy was my father's mother. But Daisy,
so
Daisy
Daisy
Ventures. And Daisy, Grandma Daisy taught me how to grow roses, which, if anybody knows, are some of the most temperamental and difficult flowers to grow.
My goodness, yes.
But that was our weekend time together. She taught me how to grow roses and flowers. They had they grew their food. They had a garden out in Inkster, because I never saw them go to the grocery store. Now I understand why. One, I wasn't there during the week, but two, they had me out there pulling weeds. So I learned to grow whatever I need, but I've taken every single principle that she's taught me of how to grow flowers and plants and food, and I grow businesses, because principles, the fundamentals are all the same. Good soil, proper attention, give it sunlight, give it nutrients, and then get out of the way.
Yeah. I love it.
Because she always said, I know what I planted, but I don't know what's going to come up.
Right.
I say that all the time. I said, well, I know what I intended, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Well, let me just say this, Leslie.
Just doesn't change.
May not know what's coming up, but everything that I see is all golden. It's all beautiful. And I just so much appreciate you spending some time and helping us sort through, what it takes, what it means to not only be plus 50, be aging, but aging vibrantly. Because I think it isn't just about the length of years that we have.
Yes.
But it's more about the quality, how we live, and living vibrantly for a long time, I know is what I want to do. Living good, loving good, looking good, feeling good, and doing good. That's what I want. Leslie, thank you so much. Leslie Graham Andrews, Grandma Daisy's grandchild. Thank you so much for spending some time with me.
Thank you. Thank you for creating a platform for the truth, which is vibrancy is the ticket.
Yes, yes. Well, I told you, wasn't I right? Didn't I promise you that we would get some real gems from someone like Leslie? I told you. You can follow her on Facebook. She's phenomenal. And while you're looking and checking her out, also check out the Vibrant Life Blueprint. You can get information on it at my website, drgenevaspeaks.com. Love you. Live vibrantly.